When I was 8, I went through a bout of fevers. I suppose most children have that at one time or the other, and most children forget about them a few weeks or years later. I never forget these fevers. I remember the first time I felt them coming. I was playing in the sand with one of my friends. There was Nana, she would always wear flowers, and there was Kara. She always had great ideas. We were playing in building castles and digging pantheons in the moist, cold sand, while the sun burned on our backs. Kara and Nana were wearing hats, but I didn't. Maybe it was the sun, or maybe the fever came from something else. Nana said that I looked tired, and Kara said that I should talk to her mom because Kara's mom always knew what to do. That's the last thing I remember in the sand. I woke up with something warm and wet on my forehead, and pressure on my throat. I screamed. The door opened, and my mom sat down next to me. She said that everything was alright, that her friend Jennifer, Jen the botanical shop owner, had given her something for me. Mom said that I would smile and laugh again. I remember seeing Mom, and then the hallucinations. Patterns of crossing lines and a shiny marble rolling under those lines. I remember that I was the marble, and that I was trying to escape, but there was no way out. Wherever I rolled, the lines just got higher, or the edges suddenly rose, and I wasn't able to get up. I rolled around, more and more scared, and then, once in a while, I woke up with a sweat on my forehead and a cold, hard spoon being pushed in my mouth. There was sweat on my forehead a few times, and then finally, I woke up, and there was no sweat, and I began to solve puzzles with my mom. We even ate nice food, mac and cheese and caprese, tomatoes with mozzarella and basil. Those were my favorite foods. Mom gave me some other medicines of Jan's. Then I went to bed, and again I was the marble. Again I rolled through the labyrinth of glowing lines on a pale ground, and again, wherever I rolled, I realized I was locked inside. When I woke up, there was Nan and Kara. They were playing with dolls on my blanket. They laughed and tried to make me laugh with them because the dolls were dancing funny. I was a marble again, and there were two other marbles, laughing marbles. They were rolling after me, and I was rolling away. They kept telling me to wake up and to play with them, but I was scared. I rolled away from them, but the glowing lines grabbed me and held me in place. I felt something pulling on me, and there was screams and then pain. When I woke up, Mom was crying. She had a tissue in her hand, but there was loads of red on the tissue. I tried to keep her arm away, but she kept hurting me with the tissue. Over and over she pressed it against my head, and every time it hurt more. I got better again though. Mom gave me green pills and some beer liquid from John's botanical shop. They made me want to puke. We ate salad, and then chocolate mousse for dessert. I fought against the blanket, but Mom kissed me goodnight. The bright lines were haunting me. They pushed me forward, towards a wall without lines. I tried to roll to the side, but the lines only allowed me to roll forward. I remember being scared. The beach wall kept coming closer, and I rolled right into it. The lines didn't give me a choice though. There was a wooden bedside table in front of me. I knew that it was real. Heavy wood, and on it stood a black teapot. It was an Arabic teapot. I knew that because it didn't have the usual spout. Instead, it only had one opening at the top where the hot water went in and the tea went out. The teapot slowly raised itself from the wooden table. It circled in front of me, showing off its lack of a spout and then its shiny, perfectly smooth shape. I remember thinking that my dad would like the tea it made. Dad liked mint tea. When I woke up, my mom was there again. I asked for my dad, but Mom said he was at work. I told her about the teapot, and she laughed and gave me a chamomile tea with honey. That night, I saw the teapot again. I was happy that I wasn't the marble anymore, but I remembered that the teapot scared me. I felt it was too dark to make nice tea. It would only make bitter tea. And then I saw my dad putting his hand inside the teapot. And when it came back out, it was all black. Just like the teapot. Dad smiled at me. Still, the teapot danced in front of me. Maybe dance is the wrong word. It hovered and turned in circles. The teapot was showing itself, and it tried to show me how big it was. It tried to show me that it would be able to eat my dad. I told it to stop, but the teapot just kept pulsing and dancing. It danced and turned in circles until I felt sick. I felt dizzy and like vomiting. I had felt like that as a marble with the glowing lines suffocating me. The teapot was worse. It kept spinning even when I felt sick. It kept spinning until I didn't know anymore whether it was me that was moving around the teapot, or just the teapot spinning in front of me. The teapot made me feel sick. I felt that it was smelling sick, but mostly it was its looks and the way it kept turning faster and faster. With the teapot, I felt the whole world spinning around me. I don't know whether I woke up from the spinning teapot and then began to throw up, or whether I woke up because of the vomiting. I just remember the sour taste and the yellow, lumpy liquid falling on my favorite blanket. On the one with the small elephants. The world kept spinning around me, faster and faster, and the teapot was still there while I was vomiting. My mom came running from somewhere. I remember a wet towel on my face, and the warm water that made me feel sicker. I sat down on the cold, smooth floor of the shower. The teapot was getting darker, and it came closer and it spun faster until my head. It hurt my head. I woke up back in my bed. My throat hurt when I called for my mom. She smiled and gave me pretzels. It was the 3rd of April. Mom didn't talk about the teapot until much later. It must have been at least a week afterwards. Time felt longer back then, particularly when I was sick and home all day. Mom said that Jen said that the teapot might be a sign for bad things. Mom rubbed some rough leaves on my wrist. Nana and Kara played with me when I came back, but they learned new games and they were much better at them than I was. I felt lonely. I sat at the back of the room and made a painting of the teapot. I used only black and a bit of yellow to draw the lines around it. Mom bought me teapots to play with, but they were all wrong. They were all Western teapots with spouts, and they were all made of plastic. And Mom didn't understand that the teapot needed to be black. The ones she gave me were all pink or red or turquoise. I was 9 when the homeroom teacher called me out of class. Miss Brown looked very serious, although I knew that it was the 1st of April. I knew that it was April's Fools and that she was playing a prank on me. Miss Brown said that it was serious and that my mom was going to pick me up. I was happy that Mom would pick me up. School was boring that day. I got scared when Mom hugged me really tight. Her eyes looked red and wet while she was driving. I didn't like the smell in the hospital, and I didn't like the annoying beep, beep, beep sound. But it was worse when the beep stopped and all the people ran into the room and they ripped Dad's shirt open. And Mom pushed me out of the room and cried even more. I heard the people shouting in the room, and I wanted to tell them to stop shouting with Dad in there, but Mom didn't let me go. The way Mom pressed me to her chest hurt, but I was scared to say anything because Mom looked so sad. I wasn't sure what Ash was. It made me sad when they talked about Dad and all the people were crying. It took me a few years to understand why they told me that Dad was in the teapot we took home. I remember the golden stripes around the thick pot and the way it didn't have a spout. It's strange to think back to those fever dreams. I would like to say that I was just remembering them wrong. I would like to say that I couldn't have known the teapot more than a year in advance. But Mom kept the drawing I did at school.